Been a while. I'm gonna do anime tier list. So a little background is I am going to do the tier list of only animes I've finished. I've watched a lot more than the list I have, but I can't. I think I have all of the animes that I've finished. Pretty sure. Finished means like the show's finished and they're not coming out with new ones. Why am I explaining that? The show's finished, they're not coming out with new episodes, and I finished it. That's the three criteria. I've probably watched over 30 anime, but I think I've only finished 9 completely. Not entirely sure. I'll probably remember some I finished afterwards, but for now, these are the 9 that I've. So this is the list I have. The anime list of all the shows. I got Naruto, Death Note, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, Cowboy Bebop, or that's not Cowboy Bebop, Gurren Lagann, Sword Art Online, Parasite, Naruto Shippuden, Hunter x Hunter, and Cowboy Bebop. I know I'm missing stuff. Now that I'm looking at this list, I'm totally missing something that I've watched, that I finished, but I can't think. One Piece, watched a ton of that, but it's still going on, so I didn't have that. Jujutsu Kaisen, watching that. Attack on Titan, My Hero Academia, um, Castlevania. The list is massive. Like I've watched a ton, but I haven't finished them, and they're still going on. Or I haven't finished them, or they're still going on. So this is the nine nine that I've. So well, I'll just go through the list. So Naruto, I'm gonna go A. Naruto was the first anime I watched and finished, and it was really good. And I watched it. I watched it twice. Watched it through twice, and I think it's got a good plot and good character development, and it's very good. Out of all the animes I've watched, even after watching other ones that are better than it, but it's still extremely good anime. So this is where it's tough because yeah, okay, yeah, I'll just okay. So next is Death Note. Death Note I'm putting in S tier. It's probably my favorite, maybe second favorite out of the ones I've finished. But I love that. So another thing with this tier list is this is a tier list of mine. So that means that I am completely right in everything that I'm ranking, and that anything else that's different than mine is wrong. And that's obviously sarcasm. Like this is just my opinion on what I like. So whatever what types of animes you like would be different. So don't don't get super upset if I trash on some of these. There's only a few that I didn't like on this list that I finished. Anyways, back to yeah, Death Note, very good. If you haven't watched Death Note for some weird reason and you're watching an anime tier list, definitely watch it. It's very the characters in it are amazing. L's one of my favorite characters of all time out of all animes. I think he's an awesome character. And the ending's decent. Like the ending almost puts it to A. Like it's okay. I think it could have ended a little better, but it still was very good. Like I think they ended it well, and L still is the hero at the end of the anime, regardless of how they ended it. But yeah, really like Death Note. I've watched that a couple times too. Next is Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. This is Brotherhood, not the other one. It's not Brotherhood, which I watched but stopped watching because I found out that Brotherhood's better, and it was way better immediately. And it's definitely S tier. It's considered like one of the best animes, and it definitely is one of my favorites. The other thing with animes that I've watched is and finished is they're short usually. Besides Naruto, they're they're short because you can actually finish them. I do not like the long animes normally, and I don't like That's why Naruto is not S tier, because it's just too long. There's too many stupid episodes in it that drag it on for a while, and it's just not a good experience the whole time. Yeah, but back to Full Metal Alchemist. Very good show. The story's great. It's a continuous figuring out like what's going on, and you don't really know what's going on until some other things happen, and it sticks to the same plot almost the whole time. And I'm blanking on their names. The Elric brothers. Geesh. Yeah, the Elric brothers are great characters. The princess in the show is really good. The girls in it are good. Like they're not annoying. Like in Naruto, like Sakura's annoying, and the other girls are annoying. But the girls in Full Metal Alchemist, they're good. They're interesting characters, and you don't dislike them for being annoying. Yeah, and the story's good. It's good, and it ends well. I really like the ending of it. I like it more than Death Note, the ending, which I think is why I think it's my favorite over Death Note. Just because the ending I like more than Death Note. Definitely should watch it. I think it's like 70 episodes or something. A little longer than Death Note. I really like Death Note for being only 36 or whatever episodes it is. But totally worth the 70 episodes or whatever it is. Next is Gurren Lagann, which I'm going to put in C, which some people might be upset with. I don't know. I have the problem I have with Gurren Lagann is same thing with Sword Art Online. I could do both of these, but I'm going to put the Sword Art Online in D because it's worse than Gurren Lagann. I think that's just like a fact. But Gurren Lagann's great. It's a great concept of a show, great story. But I just extremely dislike when shows go from Gurren Lagann and Sword Art Online. They go from this story with a plot that you are interested in seeing how it's resolved to a love story that is. It's just like, why is this turning into a love story? That's the same thing that's happening in Seven Deadly Sins, which I very much dislike right now. Is I really liked that show, and then they started doing that. Same thing. Like I don't get that. Full Metal Alchemist doesn't do that. Death Note doesn't do that. Naruto doesn't do that. Those are incredible shows that don't have this stupid love. They have like love interest, but they don't turn into a love show, like a love story, and like the hero trying to save the female, and that's the whole show. The whole show, which it turns into, and that's why these are C and D. Gurren Lagann's a great concept and very cool show, and the story before the next end story is amazing. And then it's like, why didn't it just end at this point? I'm not gonna say anything about the shows because if you watch it, if you haven't watched it, I'm not gonna spoil it. But like, if it should have ended before it ended, like it should have ended at the actual ending, not dragged on to a love story that needed to get resolved. Like that shouldn't have happened. That was a terrible ending to the show, but it still was a decent show throughout. And then Sword Art Online, same thing, just a little worse of a story than Gurren Lagann. Still a good story, a good concept, like a video game world where you're stuck in it. But it just, the love story picks up faster in this one, and then it's almost all of that in the end. Like they don't even care about the action. Like it's just a love story. There's not like a super villain that you even care about. It's just the guy just cares about the girl and saving her. Not I just very much dislike it. Dislike it. One thing I want to add about Gurren Lagann and Sword Art Online is because like I feel like people like these shows and I did like them, but I have a problem with when you're making an anime and you want to if you're making a love story anime, just make a love story anime. Don't make these shows where you're disguising it as a cool action like characters having this cool abilities and whatever Gundams and everything. and then hiding a love story in there, and then that overtaking the whole show. That's what I disliked about it. I don't have a problem with love stories if they're initially that's the you're getting into that. When you're going into these shows, you're like, "Oh, this is a cool show. I can't wait to see how this is resolved." And then you're like very disappointed when you find out that it's not this type of show. It's a love story, and you're just like, why am I watching this? Because yeah, that's the point I want to make with those. That's why. Oh, that's why I don't like them. That's why I don't like them. Not because they're love stories. There's a little difference there. I just wanted to point that out. All right. Next is Parasite. This one I watched I think the most recently is Parasite. My brother watched it and he recommended it, and it is good. I'm gonna put it in B, like B to C. I'll put it like here, because I'm gonna put Naruto in B, Shippuden Naruto in B, but I'll explain that later. But Parasite I'm putting in B to C tier because it was a good story, good plot. I feel like they could have like expanded on it more. Like it was too it was too it wasn't too short. They just didn't do a anime type job of explaining what's going on. It was just a story that they were explaining, and like it was more of like a show about like the human condition and decisions that people make, rather than like an anime where you have this power that you get and to how to handle that power. It was more relying on like a philosophical type show. It was still good, but I think they could have done it could have been a lot more entertaining if they did it a little longer with a little more development of characters' abilities. It was just more of just figuring out how to survive with this new race rather than like an actual resolution. That was the other thing. It was like there wasn't really a resolution to the show, which it still ended decently, but could have been better in my opinion. So that's why I put it BC. Definitely better. Just it was a lot more of a thinking show than Gurren Lagann and Sword Art Online, but the story isn't incredible, but it's very good. Next is Naruto Shippuden. I'm putting it below Naruto just because it's way too long and way too many useless arcs and stories and filler episodes. And the ending, same. This ending was like this should have ended four bad guys ago. Like it was long, and I didn't hate the ending, but it could have been shrunk. Like they didn't have to add some of the bad guys they added, and it still would have ended well. The way it ended was good overall at the very end, but it could have ended sooner, way sooner. Pain arc is incredible. One of my favorite arcs of any show is the Pain arc. Very good. Even though my brother ruined it for me, I won't tell you how he ruined it because that'll ruin it for some people. But still incredible. Very good villain. Probably one of my favorite villains is Pain. Like he's a great villain. Later villains, decent. Tobirama's good. Kaguya did not. However you say her name, she didn't need to be in the show. Madara was okay. It just seemed like it was like, how can we make this a whole season longer when they are like had the ending already planned, and then they're like, how can we squeeze another season out of this show? And it just felt forced. And I haven't really watched it. I only watched it once. I don't know if I could watch it again all the way through. I might watch the Pain arc again because that's just so good. But I think Naruto just has a better pace, and the character development and villains and training and everything is awesome in Naruto compared to Shippuden. Shippuden's got some good parts like Naruto learning like Rasen's Shuriken is sweet, but like some characters they just don't develop which I thought they would, based on like Naruto. You'd think they would develop some characters, and then they just start just super side characters and Shippuden. And then Sakura's still annoying in this, useless. Yeah, so that brings it to B tier. She's actually more annoying and useless in this than in Naruto, which is which is tough to do, but she is. And then she thinks she's not, which is even worse. Oh, okay. All right. Next is Hunter X. I say Hunter X Hunter, but I think you're just supposed to say Hunter Hunter. This I'm gonna put into. Oh, this is tough. Do I think it's better than Shippuden or the same as Shippuden? No, I don't. Yeah, I do. I think they're. I'd say they're the same. I'm gonna say it. They're the same. They're not the same show. They're the same level of uh goodness to me. Hunter X Hunter, love the characters in it. Very good beginning. Way better pace than Naruto is, like developing characters. Like they took Naruto's story arcs and everything and just sped them up and made you like the characters way faster and did a really good job with that. But then, like if the shows in four parts, like I don't know what the parts would be, but there's gonna be 5 parts. There's 5 parts. First 2 parts, very good. Third part, okay. Then the fourth part, which is like they go to that island that they're in for the rest of the show. You're like they're on this part of the world that has insects in it. Okay, it's a decent arc. But then you're watching it and you're like, there's only like 20 episodes left. How is this show gonna end? And they're still in this insect world, and like you're thinking about it. You're like, where's the other characters from the beginning of the show that you learned about and you thought they would be in the show the whole time? But then you're introduced to these new characters in parts 3 to 4 that are like in it for the rest of the show, and you don't go back to the other characters. I guess because they just finished what they had to do, but very weird turn in the show, and it ends pretty like weird because like you're man, it's so hard to explain this show without giving anything away, but you're wondering like why are these things appearing now at the end of the show and not ever brought up prior to this? And it just makes you wonder like they just were writing it as they went rather than having like a solid story planned and then just filling it in from there. Like it seems like they just were like, "Oh no, this happened. How are we going to resolve this?" And then they just bring in this weird character that just is able to fix everything. And it's a little it kind of cheapens what happens in the show a little bit, but it's still a very good show overall. Ends well. Yeah, it ends well. Yeah, it's tough. I might put it like might put it above Naruto. No, I'm not. It's it's the same as Naruto Shippuden. Ending could have been better. Characters should have been blonde haired dude should have been in it more later, and so is the lawyer dude, and then other characters. The other problem with Hunter X Hunter, however you say it, is I started watching it a while ago, like 6 years ago, and then I only finished it 5 months ago. So I picked up where I left off, and it just didn't. I didn't remember enough, and I was just a little confused. Like I had to go back a few episodes just to be like, what was happening before this, and it just doesn't have a continuous story that you can just keep watching and remember what happened before. Whereas like Full Metal Alchemist and Death Note, you can just watch the previous 5 minutes of the other show and be like, oh yeah, that's where they're at right now to remember it. But Hunter X Hunter, I had a problem doing that. And then the last one is just Cowboy Bebop. This one I also just recently finished watching. I started watching it before, and then stopped, and then rewatched it because I've heard that this is. I'm gonna put it here. I'm gonna put it above those two. Not S tier, but it's good. So I started watching this a while ago, and then so recently it's on Netflix now, I think. So I watched it again on Netflix. It's a really cool show. You're just thrown into this world and slowly explain stuff that's going on, and you get character backstory and who these characters are, and there's just it's not really it's such a good show with like you're watching it and watching a story, and then there's stories in the story that are explaining the characters and where they're from, and um, other characters that you're introduced to and how they're how they're connected with these other characters. Very good show. The ending was decent. Could have the only thing I have negatively to say is like they could have done a better job with that. Like they explain characters' backstories well, but they could have done more. Like I can't. I'm blanking on everybody's name right now. I don't know why, but the main character you don't know a lot about, and they explain a decent amount, but you still don't know a lot about him. And I wish they would do more of that. But it's a really good show. It's quick, and it throws you into this very cool dystopian future or whatever. Very cool concept of a show, and the villains are good. Side help characters are good. The main characters are good. Yeah, it's funny. It's quick. There's not like there's not like an I don't think there's an episode in it where you're like there might be a one or two episodes out of the I think there's only like 15. There might be like one or two that are most of it's pretty useless, but other than that, it's a very good anime that I've finished. Yeah, so that's the tier list. I think I finished more than this, but this is all I can remember right now. But yeah, I don't want to make a tier list of shows I haven't finished just because I don't think that's necessarily fair to the show because like I haven't finished it and that and I'm ranking it on like if I like it or not. Like I said, I mean if I some shows I've watched and they're just terrible and I've stopped watching. I can't even remember the names of them, but that's the list of all the shows I've finished. Comment if you agree or disagree or recommend shows similar to these that I like or dislike. Yep, that is it.